So there is spin, there's propaganda, and from the standpoint of spin, usually there's a kernel of truth. Like there's an element of reality within the context of the spin. It's just being, let's say, tweaked in a particular way to give the best light possible. How do you like the food? Oh, I think it's an interesting dish. The reality of it is, this dish sucks. You didn't say it was good. You didn't necessarily make that brazen lie. By the same token, you didn't give the truth that you didn't particularly like it. Hey, what do you think about that particular person? Or what do you think about this particular event? Well, I think the event went quite well despite the challenges, et cetera, et cetera. You might have thought that event was trash. It's your way of basically shaping a narrative. Now, from the standpoint of media, any media you get is going to have some level of spin because people are different and they have a certain way of looking at things. The catch becomes, are they being honest in the way that they appraise it? Or are they giving that information for a different reason? Meaning, is their point of view of the world being shaped, tweaked, contorted based upon some other factor that's influencing their opinion and point of view? And that's kind of the issue, right? When you're looking at mainstream media, whether it's CNN, MSNBC, even if you're looking at like the BBC, Telesurf, RT, or Sputnik, any of these channels, ultimately, you can have people, such as myself, that try to look at the world and give a contextual view of how you see it and explain how you got to that point of seeing it that particular way. And try to give historic, militaristic, cultural, social, whatever context necessary to try to get that point across. Doesn't mean I'm going to always be right. It does mean, however, that I will try to be ethical and honest in trying to present it and trying to give you that point of view. From the standpoint of something like a mainstream media or whatever, they've gotten into their heads that their job, philosophically so, is to eliminate and drop context in pushing their particular narrative of events. This notion of democracy, yeah, it was fun while it lasted, but the objective of this is for us to give you something, you accept it in your cognitive faculties, and run with it. Some people even believe that they're coming to the conclusion on their own, despite the fact that they're just repeating what they've been indoctrinated with from the standpoint of social media and from mainstream media, not to mention the elimination of all sources of information competing with that narrative, or at the very least, the attempt to eliminate those sources. When it gets to the White House, in all governments, actually, in a political sense, it is difficult to acquiesce and accept a failure. It's not easy. This is not a situation where everybody says, okay, it's okay, not a big deal, you did your best, etc. That's not it. You're in a competitive, zero-sum contest where your objective is to stay in power. And you stay in power through popularity, through money, through media, etc., etc. But the key point in that is, if the public thinks that you are an utter and complete incompetent failure, then the public will likely not put you in office again. And if your country is availed by all sorts of issues, the buck is going to basically stop at the president. So, if you were Joe Biden, you come in office, you tell people we're the adults in the room, we're the ones that believe in science, we are the ones that are utterly awesome, we're the ones that are going to do it. Then, in that situation, and you come in, and it's not that way, you got some explaining to do. Wait a minute, Joe Biden, you said you were the adult in the room. Why did more people die from COVID under you than Trump? Hey, Joe Biden, you said you were the adult in the room. How come you weren't able to pass the $15 an hour minimum wage for people that you called heroes when you're basically running in the race? Hey, Joe Biden, you said there weren't going to be people hanging off of airplanes in Afghanistan when the government basically collapsed and fell. I mean, you can go down the list of those things. Hey, Joe Biden, you said you were going to pass your economic agenda. Hey, Joe Biden, you said you were... Run down the list. This administration has been an absolute and complete failure that has been even shocking to me. And I didn't think Biden was going to do much of anything in that office, which is the reason I did not vote for him. By the same token, like I said, shocking even to me. The level and the degree to which he has just been, I don't want to call him invisible, Kamala Harris has been invisible, but just not up for the job in a cognitive, physical, or even metaphysical fashion. Not even up for the job for the moment that we're in. Meaning, nearly 1 million people died from basically COVID. And Biden, who promised a healthcare plan, or at the very least, a public option, didn't even do that. Think about that. you have nearly 1 million people dead from a virus. And the president of the United States who gets in office saying, I'm going to pass a healthcare bill. It's not going to be Medicare for all. It will be a public option. And it makes all the sense in the world considering the number of people who basically got sick and died from COVID. He didn't do any of that stuff. And so the media has basically landed on this thing of Biden has failed, Biden has failed, Biden has failed. The American public has landed on this notion that Biden has failed. When you look at his polling, it shows it. So Biden has taken the tack that everything that's wrong is now Putin's fault. That's the way. I'm going to explain it. The mainstream media basically will not impeach that per se, because they've also gone down this line that is all Putin's fault. And so it's almost like this kind of cynical way of trying to shoehorn his failings under this kind of umbrella of Russia hatred in order to absolve himself and his administration of blame and failure. Yeah, good luck with that. When Americans are paying higher gas prices, or Americans are paying higher food prices, or Americans are having difficulty getting this good or that good, or you have starvation in the world because the wheat production from, let's say, Ukraine basically dries up. Yeah, that's culpability is at the foot of U.S. and Western policy that basically decided that they wanted to use geopolitical strategy in the way that they operated in the world. One point, Jen Psaki. Jen Psaki has the responsibility of basically defending Joe Biden and the administration. Psaki is asked the question about Biden's resilience to COVID. Listen to what she says here. Her answer is utterly astonishing. And this is not even spin or gaslighting. This is just outright, straight up lying.
President, 79 years old, President of the United States, were to get COVID, might be more serious than, somebody in their 20s?
Well, we don't know that, but we also know that COVID impacts people of all ages and a range of. But when we take what we do here, Jen, is not exactly as you said. So I wouldn't agree with your description there. I would say we do take extra precautions.
Basic, straightforward question. And I don't even know if she finished the question. I thought it sounded like she was somewhat making a statement. But, hey, the president is 79 years old. And if the president ends up getting COVID and getting sick, clearly his situation will be worse because of his age. Psaki's response is, I disagree with that. I disagree with that. I don't agree with your characterization. What do you mean you don't agree with the characterization? Are you saying, really, honestly, that Biden is somehow specially protected from COVID? Because of what? Because of his age? Because his last name is Biden? No. Older people, as a flat fact, are more susceptible to COVID. It is in the numbers. That is not even in question. That is not even up for dispute or up for debate. Even the right, who is against many of the COVID regulations and everything else, also would say we should focus those on the elderly because those are the people who are being affected the most. To make this point that much more clear, this, right here. 2.1 million Americans, representing 0.62% of the U.S. population, reside in nursing home and nursing facilities. All right, why am I saying that? Because 42% of U.S. deaths from COVID are in 0.6% of the population. This has to do with basically elderly, nursing homes, etc. Put a finer point on it. The United States is approaching a grim milestone of the pandemic as nationwide death toll approaches 800,000. We're beyond that. The vast majority of those deaths among the elderly, people 65 and up, make 75% of all COVID deaths in the United States. There are other reports, 1 in 100 people who basically die from COVID or elderly. I mean, this is easily disprovable and is not up for debate in the least, which makes this brazen jump of the shark that much worse. It's almost as if Jen Psaki has gotten so accustomed to just spinning and spewing propaganda and nonsense in order to defend the administration's failures that even when asked something just straightforward, clear as day, hey, is the sun out? I would disagree with that characterization. Hey, do you have 5 fingers? I understand that you want to say that, but I don't know. I mean, it's almost as if she's gotten to the point where she spins so much and talks for so long without saying anything that when she finally is asked a question that is basically straightforward, she can't even honestly engage that question. It's amazing. Hey, Jen, are you a woman? Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I do have breasts. I do have a vagina. But I'm not sure I agree with your characterization of the womanist thing. I don't know what you mean by that. It's like, are you really at that point where any and everything that somebody says to you, you basically takes the reflexively opposite position, even when what they say to you is 1,000% correct, and up to this moment has never even been in question, even by people who are against the COVID stuff. Jen Psaki, everybody. This is the person that is distributing information to the public on behalf of the White House and the government. And if she can't even admit, party of science, if she can't even admit to the most basic of things, why would you trust her for anything else? If you can't admit the sun is out on a summer day, why do I need to hear anything else from you in regards to truth? Amir Fourier, what happened to Fault Lines? Nothing happened to Fault Lines. Fault Lines was banned on YouTube, but Fault Lines is still on Rumble. And you guys can find it out. In fact, I'm about to leave now. From 7 to 10 a.m., it's on rumble.com/faultlines. And within 5 minutes, it usually pops up where you can see it and basically watch it live. So I'm going to bid you guys a good day. I'm going to go pick up my co-host, and we are going to go to Fault Lines in order to do the news. I hope you guys can join me there. Again, it's rumble.com/faultlines. That's an awesome day. I'll see you in a few. Back in a moment. Yeah, couldn't sleep. Real men can't sleep. Real men do the news.